The woman opened her eyes, a pain came from her abdomen, and on closer inspection, a circle of gauze was wrapped around her stomach. What's going on here? The woman's name was Lucy, and her boyfriend, whom she had just met a week ago, had forced a box on her to help her give it to Mr. Jiang at the hotel. Just as she arrived at the front desk of the hotel, several fierce men came towards her, and before she had time to react, a gunshot rang out of the door and her boyfriend fell to the ground. She was then taken upstairs to meet Mr. Jiang, a murderous Korean drug lord, and the case contained the newly developed drug CHP4, and after verifying the effects of the drug, she was knocked out with a punch. When she woke up, she found an extra wound on her stomach, when a doctor appeared and told her that she had just made a small horizontal slit on her stomach, which held a complete package of blue pills, and that she could regain her freedom as long as she took the drugs to Europe by plane, and she was joined by 3 other people who had been caught transporting drugs. A hood was then placed over her head and she was taken to a house, where the punk saw a beautiful woman and molested her. Lucy resisted and angered the punk, who punched her to the ground and kicked her in the stomach several times. Another punk saw it and pulled him out. Lucy was shaking with pain, the drug package in her abdomen had ruptured under the external pressure and dissolved in her blood. A huge energy spread through her body, causing her to be unable to control her body, as if there was a powerful force that wanted to drag her away. The blue pills in her body had accidentally stimulated her brain's potential, causing the brain utilization rate to reach 20%. What is this concept? Professor Norman, who studied the evolution of the human brain, believes that the first life originated from the aberration of nerve cells, when the prototype of the brain weighed only a few milligrams, a stage called 1%. With the emergence of animals, the brain of most species only developed 3% to 5%, until we evolved into humans. On top of the animal chain, our brain utilization only reached 10%, and just this 10% of the brain utilization has allowed the human society we live in to develop a variety of high-tech products. The only species with 20% brain utilization is the dolphin, which has evolved an echolocation system. Assuming our brains are developed to 20%, we can freely control our own bodies, and furthermore we can control other people, and when the brain is developed to 40%, we can control matter. If the brain is developed to 100%, it will be an unimaginable scenario for the current human being. Lucy woke up with firm eyes and became unusually calm. Then came another punk. Lucy smiled at him. The man came to the front, only to see Lucy spread her legs and force a clip. Then she picked up a pistol, calmly walked outside, fired 4 shots, all 4 people fell to the ground and died. Walked outside the house, Lucy hijacked a cab and went straight to the hospital, looked up at the signs, all the text became English. Came to the operating room, took a look at the CT photo of the brain next to him, turned around and shot the patient being operated on and told the doctor that his tumor had penetrated deep into the cerebral cortex and was hopeless. I have a package in my stomach and need your help to remove it. The nurse next to her fainted in shock straight away, and the doctor helped her take out the drugs, which were already only half a packet left. Coming out of the hospital, Lucy found that her perception of everything was more profound. She realized that her life was rapidly coming to an end and that if she wanted to prolong it, she would have to keep replenishing the blue pills. So, she took her gun to the hotel, at a time when the drug lord Jiang was wearing earplugs and listening to my movie review, completely unaware of the impending danger. The guard outside the door was shot down by her in advance before he had a chance to resist. Came to Mr. Jiang. She took out the knife behind her back, used the knife to fix his hands on the seat, and then pressed his brain with both hands, and found the destination information of the other 3 people in his brain nerves, respectively, Berlin, Rome and Paris. Lucy then returned to her apartment, borrowed a friend's computer, and looked up Professor Norman's research. So she immediately contacted the professor, and after roughly explaining the reason for her visit, the professor thought it was some student's prank. At that moment, the TV suddenly lights up, Lucy appears on it, and the computer, cell phone and radio around her are also controlled by her, so the professor believes her words. Lucy told him that her brain had been developed to 28%, and with all the knowledge pouring into her brain, her humanity was gradually disappearing, unable to find the meaning of life. After some thought, the professor said that the ultimate meaning of life is to pass it on, and Lucy was suddenly enlightened. She went to the airport, called the Paris police station, gave the detective's name, told him to pick up the red pen next to his left hand and write down every word she said. The detective looked down and saw that there was a red pen next to his left hand, which took him by surprise, and he hurriedly wrote down the information of the drug couriers. Soon, the 3 men transporting drugs were also intercepted by the police. Lucy was not idle on the plane, operating 2 computers at the same time, quickly browsing all the information on the internet. Next to the bald head looked dumbfounded. It only took her 2 hours to learn all the human knowledge, and her brain utilization rate was at 40% at this point. However, lacking energy, her teeth began to fall out, her skin gradually decomposed, and the cells of her entire body were about to fall apart. She stumbled into the toilet and her face began to collapse and decompose, at which point she could only take out the remaining half packet of blue pills and began to inhale them. By the time she woke up again, her body had recovered and her brain utilization rate had reached 50%. With the slightest wave of her hand, a large number of police officers instantly fell to the ground, and a single look could unload the bullets from their guns. Lucy convinced the detective to retrieve the remaining drugs with her, and by now she could control the electronic signals. Soon, she found out the drug lord's call information. The mob has found the whereabouts of the drug carrier, she must stop them as soon as possible. The detective was instantly pushed to the passenger side. An extreme car racing is about to begin, Lucy driving a police car rampage, weaving through the streets of Paris. The next detective directly stunned, behind the police car is too late to dodge, one after another to collide with each other. On the other hand, the gangs had arrived at the hospital, they killed the police officers on guard and began to remove the drugs from the body of the drug carrier. When the gang was about to leave, Lucy and the detective finally arrived at the hospital. The leading man told his men to kill them. He turned to leave, but unexpectedly was blocked by an invisible wall. At this point Lucy can not only control all objects, but also easily control the actions of people. All of the gangsters were overwhelmed in front of him and could only watch as the boxes were taken away, but they could not move their bodies. Lucy took out the last package of drugs and went to the professor's laboratory with the detective and began to explain all the new knowledge she had acquired. Meanwhile, the drug lord summoned all his minions and prepared to take revenge himself. She needed to focus and develop her brain utilization to 100%, which was used to leave valuable knowledge for mankind. The professor asked curiously, "How do you get information from the outside world?" She explained that cells communicate with each other through electromagnetic pulses, which can exchange 1,000 bits of information per second, and all the cells come together to form a powerful communication network, and they can not only break down and deform, but also reassemble into new substances. Lucy continued, 1 plus 1 never equals 2, numbers are just concepts created by humans to facilitate our understanding, and the world is not explained by mathematical principles. The only thing that can measure everything in the world is time. Suppose a car driving on the road, when his speed tends to infinity, the vehicle will gradually disappear, only time can prove that he once existed. Just then, the drug lord killed the building with his men and engaged in a fierce gun battle with the police. Realizing that time is running out, Lucy plans to absorb all the remaining pills and forcibly develop her brain to 100%. The moment she absorbed the pills, a huge amount of energy spilled out of her body, her arms extended black tentacles and began to search for substances and energy, leaving the professors on the sidelines dumbfounded. At this point, Lucy's brain utilization rate had reached 80%, and she brought the professors into a brand new space where a new generation of supercomputer was slowly rising up. When the brain utilization reaches 90%, her consciousness can travel around the world at will, the streets of Paris, Times Square. A tap of the finger and time pauses. A slide to the right and time starts to fast forward. A slide to the left and time goes backwards. She felt this wonderful experience, followed the reverse time, witnessed the industrial era, came to the primitive society, saw the dinosaur era, met the human ancestors, 2 fingers touched each other, time immediately accelerated backwards, she saw the formation of the universe when the waves of magnificent. The drug lord came in. Lucy is still immersed in the boundless universe, constantly tracing the origin of time, not even aware of the enemy behind them. Just as the drug lord fired, Lucy disappeared into thin air. The drug lord is surprised and threatens the professor to hand over Lucy. In the nick of time, the detective arrives in time to kill the drug lord, successfully resolving the crisis. At the same time, the supercomputer stretched out a black USB drive, which is the human desire to get the endless knowledge. The detective curiously asked, "Where did she go?" At this time his phone rang. The screen clearly wrote, "I am everywhere." It turns out that when the brain is fully developed, the physical body will disappear into a material energy, which means that each of our individual lives, and even the entire universe, is the result of different combinations of energy. This is an alternative science fiction movie. Lucy. If you like, you can go see the full version of the movie.